Hey everyone. Okay, let's just jump right into an incredible explainer today. We're going to completely dismantle that pervasive myth of the quick fix and really look at a grounded, deeply personal journey of finding a truly sustainable path to health. Look, if you've ever felt trapped by diet culture or kind of just overwhelmed by the sheer mountain of effort it supposedly takes to get healthier, this explainer is absolutely for you. We're going to walk through a source narrative that proves, without a doubt, that real transformation doesn't come from massive overnight overhauls. It actually comes from the quiet power of tiny, repeatable habits.
Man, let's just sit with the emotional weight of this quote for a second. I used to dread the scale. Every morning it felt like judgment, a number that defined my worth. It's a really heavy sentiment, isn't it? But it's also just this incredibly universal pain point. I mean, so many of us know exactly what it feels like to step onto a little piece of plastic in the bathroom and then just let whatever digital number flashes back at us dictate our entire mood, our confidence, and our perceived value for the rest of the day. It is an exhausting way to live.
And that brings us right to section 1, dreading the scale and the wake-up call. So after a literal wake-up call of struggling just to get up the stairs on a rainy December morning, our source realized a choice absolutely had to be made. It meant finally abandoning that exhausting cycle of fad diets. You know the drill. The obsessive calorie counting, the miserable process of completely cutting out entire food groups, and that deeply frustrating loop of losing 5 pounds only to immediately gain 7 back. It's a cycle literally designed for failure. Instead, the pivot was toward what we're calling the livable plan. This relies heavily on consistency over extreme restriction. It's all about small, repeatable habits that you can actually manage to do on a random Tuesday in November when you're totally wiped out from work. All right, moving on to section 2, 3 tiny habits and the 30-day promise. So instead of some crazy overnight overhaul, this whole thing started as an experiment in simplicity. It was just a 30-day promise with absolutely zero extreme restrictions. Step 1, drink water before meals. Step 2, walk 30 minutes a day. Step 3, sleep at least 7 hours. Guys, that is the whole list. There was no obsessive macro counting, no banning of carbs or sugar, just 3 super simple, tiny habits that almost anyone can start doing right now. It's really about setting the bar low enough that success becomes almost guaranteed. Now, the source actually notes that doing this for the first week felt kind of ridiculous, mostly because it seemed way too easy. But these tiny actions very quickly began compounding. Just drinking water before meals naturally created this sense of fullness, so they ended up eating a bit less without ever feeling deprived. That daily 30-minute walk? Well, it acted as a much-needed physical break from staring at screens, which surprisingly boosted their mood. And getting those 7 hours of sleep actively reduced the intensity of their daily cravings. So we're not talking about massive physiological overhauls here. These were subtle, unexpected mental and physical wins that really brought back a sense of control. 3. Yep, that is the exact number of pounds lost in that very first week. Now, sure, 3 pounds might not sound like those crazy reality TV weight loss numbers, but in the context of this specific journey, it was monumental. It was immediate, tangible proof that this low-stress, highly livable method was actually working. It totally validated the theory that you do not have to punish yourself to see real progress.
But, real life happens. So let's look at section 3. Navigating the setbacks and the month 2 slump.
Okay, this is the classic abyss phase where most people just throw in the towel entirely. Midway through month 2, work stress hit hard. Suddenly, the walks were being skipped, the late nights returned, comfort eating crept right back in to soothe all that stress, and yeah, inevitably the scale went back up. We absolutely have to talk about this because real life involves stress. Setbacks are a totally normal, expected part of the whole process. Think about it. If your plan can't survive a really stressful week at work, it's just not a sustainable plan. And this right here is where the critical mindset shift happened. Instead of doing what they always used to do, which was just quitting entirely because the scale ticked upward, they realized something huge. Setbacks are part of the story, not the end. A bad week was no longer viewed as a total failure of the system. It was literally just one chapter in a much longer book. So how exactly did they bounce back? Well, they didn't panic. They didn't suddenly try to run 10 miles or starve themselves to quote-unquote make up for the bad week. They just didn't quit. They simply returned to the baseline routine. They leaned all the way back on the absolute easiest foundational habits, drinking water and getting sleep, just to gently rebuild that momentum. It's such a great reminder to give yourself a little grace while keeping your eyes on the long-term trajectory. Which perfectly sets up section 4, scaling up the routine and sustainable adjustments. Looking past that setback, we can really see how these habits build so organically over time. What started back in week 1 as just 3 tiny little habits naturally evolved. By month 1, they were prepping simple Sunday meals and extending that basic 30-minute walk into a brisk 40-minute routine, throwing in some hills on alternate days. And then by month 2 and beyond, they just added 2 20-minute bodyweight strength training sessions a week. This timeline brilliantly shows how you can take a basic routine and transform it into a robust fitness plan without ever overwhelming your system. It is incremental progress at its absolute finest. To keep scaling this up, our source also figured out how to plan for life's inevitable chaos. They developed really specific workarounds for common roadblocks. Having a crazy busy week on the road? Boom, 15-minute hotel room workouts. Need a diet swap? Just trade out one processed snack for something protein-rich. Even when ordering takeout, they just learned to choose easy, healthier alternatives. They built a flexible system that worked around their life instead of trying to force their life to fit into some rigid system. And now for the best part. Section 5, the real transformation, 6 months later. 35. That is the incredible number of pounds lost after 6 months. Half a year of just having patience, being consistent, drinking water, walking, and sleeping resulted in a 35-pound weight loss. It is a stunning achievement, and it proves that slow and steady absolutely does win the race. But honestly, as the source text makes so wonderfully clear, maybe the most important thing isn't even the number on the scale. It's these non-scale victories. The scale actually stopped being the only metric of success. Progress was now being measured by easily conquering those once daunting stairs without gasping for air. It was measured by waking up feeling lighter and having more energetic mornings. It was the immense psychological relief of finally enjoying a meal completely guilt-free, and just the simple joy of noticing how much better a pair of jeans fit. These right here, these are the metrics of a life that is actually being lived. Which leads us to the ultimate definition of what actually works, the big secret. And spoiler alert, it's not a miracle diet. It never was. The true reality of health transformation is just a combination of consistency, small, sustainable changes, and, maybe the hardest part, deep, profound patience. You have to abandon the frantic search for a miracle fix and just fully embrace the quiet power of steady adjustments. If you're sitting there thinking about starting a journey like this yourself, the source material gives us this exact blueprint to follow. First off, do not aim for perfection. Perfection is literally the enemy of progress here. Aim for tiny, repeatable habits. Drink your water, move your body every single day, and prioritize your sleep. And above all else, be relentlessly kind to yourself when you have a setback, because you will stumble, and that is perfectly fine. Just return to the baseline. As we wrap up this explainer, I just want you to remember this. Change happens one choice at a time. It's not in a massive, sweeping overhaul. It's in the small, seemingly insignificant decision you make at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. So, looking at the blueprint we just walked through, what tiny habit will you choose today to start reclaiming your own life? Think about it. Take that very first small step, and we will see you in the next one.